understand this crisis, I need to learn about Sri Lanka's past history, about the country's cultural background.
We had our own kingdom. The Sinhalese had their own kingdom, but most of the time, one kingdom rules the whole country. And between 1215 and 1469 or something, the Tamil kingdom, which ruled the whole country. And there was a bit of a lapse before the Portuguese came in 1505, when the Sinhalese kingdom was the main ruler in the south. But still, we had our own king in Jaffna, and also the principalities around in Batticaloa and Vavonia, or we call it Vanni.
But anyway, in 1505, Portuguese came. At that time, in Colombo there was a Sinhalese kingdom, and in Jaffna there was a Tamil kingdom, and in the central part of Sri Lanka, which is called, which is an upcountry, hilly area, and Kandy is the town there. So there was another kingdom there. And Kandy was the one controlling the eastern part of Sri Lanka. So naturally, the Jaffna kingdom was purely Tamils, the Colombo kingdom was purely Sinhalese, and the Kandian kingdom was Tamils and Sinhalese. Then in 1796, British came. They captured all from the Dutch. They were trying to capture the Kandian kingdom, and in 1815, they captured the Kandian kingdom. And so in 1815, the entire island was under British. And in 1833, he amalgamated the Sinhalese areas and Tamil areas as one country. And that was the basic, I would say, the very first, the seed of our problem. When we got independence, even though we are two nations, two separate kingdoms in a way, and we became the minority under the umbrella of independence or democracy. So within the parliament, they are 70%, we were 30%.
So we have this democracy, electoral democracy, majority wins. So the first Prime Minister Siranaika said, look, the British have taken the lands away from the peasantry. We must do something about that. And in his mind also was, these plantation workers who came from India in the 19th century. They are really foreigners. We must send them back. So two things happened. And the myth grew because the plantation estates, tea estates, were where a lot of the agricultural land was. The myth grew not that the British had taken the land, but the Indian Tamil worker, the plantation workers, had taken the Sinhalese land. So he did two things, kill two birds with one stone. He decitizenized the plantation workers, or refused them citizenship in the future. And he began an agricultural scheme in the northeast to settle Sinhala people. It's very important to understand that. That was the beginning of demographic changes, which later comes to the eastern province. Demographic changes and decitizenization. First, discrimination. In 1956, a person not directly in line of succession, S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike, who was a poorer relative, so to speak, he thought the best way of getting power quickly, because he was not going to succeed the dynasties in a hurry, quickly was to get the electorate on his side with Sinhalese as a language, official language, Buddhism as a state religion.
Well, when our country became independent, naturally the question arose of national language superseding English as the official language of the country. Sinhalese we decided upon as the official language because 70% of the people of Ceylon are Sinhalese. At the same time, we naturally realized that the Tamil minority language that was also old, a very rich language in literature, so on. And therefore we decided also to give a reasonable use to the Tamil language as a language of a national minority.
He said we will have reasonable use of Tamil because he didn't want, he was still trying to be nice. And that is when the Buddhist priest said, no reasonable use of Tamil. We won't have it. And they gathered before his house and persuaded him not, so he relented and said, okay, no reasonable use of Tamil. But that didn't save him from the monk's bullet. So he was assassinated. So we have the monks coming into power, bringing the army and the police against the Tamils from then on. Right? And any time that there was a Tamil protests or Tamil this thing, they let go, not so much the army, as the unofficial army, the thugs, the gundas. Each minister had his own private army.
In 1958, there were more than 3,000 people lost their lives and over 20,000 displaced from the south, and they were all shipped to their homeland called North and East. Legislations passed to prevent people getting into civil service, into university education, and the university people who couldn't get in, there was a discrimination on the marks first, and still they found there was a gap between the Tamils and Sinhalese. The Tamil have to score about 50 marks more than the Sinhalese to get into the university. Still they found there were too many Tamils getting in, so they brought in region by province, so many people can come in only from these provinces.